Hey, Matt the Mortgage Guy here. Recording a quick video today to talk about 401k versus a real estate investment. I do this to kind of compare them and show some numbers. I'm not necessarily knocking one or the other. I personally have real estate investments and a 401k, so I'm not saying that one beats the other, just to show you some numbers, give you something to think about. If you like this video or videos like this and you find value, I ask you to please smash the like button. Consider subscribing if you want other straight to the point videos like this where I talk about mortgage mostly, a little bit about real estate, and a little bit about finance. I'll probably sprinkle in there. So without further ado, 401k is something that's really common for W-2 workers in today's environment, and it's really one of the main ways people save for retirement. I just heard a stat, and that's what kind of triggered my thought process to make a video like this, that the average 52-year-old has $152,000 in their 401k. And the person who I was listening to on this podcast kind of talked about, the dismal state of people's savings and preparation for retirement. And so it got me thinking about real estate investing as a way to supplement retirement, how many investors I work with, what a great investment real estate is. And so I thought I'd just run some generic numbers to kind of compare the two. So what I first did is I thought about somebody who was 32 years old, 20 years before this 52-year-old age, where they've got an average of 150 grand in that 401k, and I backed out what it would take to get to that number, and basically $300 a month invested over that 20-year period, if you got an average of 6% return, would have you somewhere in the neighborhood of 140,000. So for all intents and purposes, if you threw $300 a month and it compounded over time, average 6% return, that's how you would get 140, 150,000 in this 401k account. And I thought to myself, a 32-year-old who buys their first house, and a really good strategy in my opinion is this first house becomes an investment property. It might not start that way. This might be a 2-bedroom, 1-bath that you move into, and then 3, 4, 5 years later, you find another house to move into, and so that one by default becomes an investment property. Now you've got renters in there. Now, for this example purposes, I just used a $350,000 purchase price. I used a 3% rate, which sounds crazy, that's high by today's terms, but an average interest rate in today's environment, and looked at if you bought that place at 350 and held on to it for 20 years, what that investment would look like. The cool part about this, in my opinion, is you need a place to stay. So you're paying your rent or you're paying this mortgage, either one. So I don't necessarily consider it like a $300 outlay like the 401k is. Also, you move out, and let's say this mortgage is $1,800, $1,900 a month. You might even get, rents in my area are crazy. So you might get $2,100, $2,200. This investment might actually pay you every month. But for an example purpose, let's just say it breaks even. Let's say it rents for $2,100, your mortgage is $1,850, you've got some maintenance, you've got some vacancies, and so it just breaks even. In that scenario, still, you don't outlay $300 a month like you did in the 401k. And here's the magic, in my opinion. If you look at a $350,000 purchase 20 years later, first off, before you even think about appreciation, what you owe on that mortgage is $152,000. So you've paid off $200 of the $350 after 20 years. If you take a 20-year loan, you could be completely paid off. But let's just assume you took a 30, paid the minimum payment every single month. You are 200 grand in equity just from principal pay down. But the magic on top of the magic, if you will, is that even if I took, you can look at historical data. Home price appreciation over time, even though it goes up and down and there's different real estate cycles, over time it increases. I think a number I just looked at for 1960s to current, the average home price appreciation is in the 5s, 5.5. And then if you look at numbers, it says it can land anywhere between 3 and 5. In some areas it's 7 and 8. In some areas it's as low as 3. Let's use 2% for this example. $350,000 house, 2% home price appreciation, which is super conservative, trust me. That home would be worth $521. So it's worth $521. You owe $152. Rough math, let's call that $370,000 in the same 20-year period as the person who's putting $300 a month into a 401k. You've got 2.5 times what they've got. Now, when you pull from the 401k, you're gonna pay tax on those withdrawals. You win in pre-tax, you're gonna pay tax post-withdrawal. So if you sell this investment property, sure, you'll pay gains, you'll pay tax on it. They're both taxed, but this one's 150 and you put $300 a month into it. This one, for all intents and purposes, you didn't put anything into it. Maybe a 3 or 5% down payment at the start, maybe, you know, a new roof once every 20 years. And so that ate into some of that cash flow when you broke even. But this one's $370,000. Now, tons of folks I work with have more than one of these. They've got 2 of these or 3 of these. And you talk about generational wealth and what you can do in real estate. This is an example. This one's $370,000. What if you did that 3 times? That's $1 million you've created in net worth. What if you did that 10 times and you had almost 4 million in net worth created from real estate? That's a real life example of what really happens. So any questions at all, please feel free to reach out. I just wanted to show the numbers just because I think it's fun, in my opinion, to kind of look into it and show the numbers of what a great investment vehicle real estate can be. And like I said, up, down, sideways, over time it's appreciating. And as you pay down the principal, that's creating wealth, because what you owe on the house is less every month. And if it's an investment property and somebody else is paying that mortgage and paying down your principal, all the better. All right, any questions, please feel free to reach out. Matt the Mortgage Guy.